configurations and reset to factory defaults. And I'll go ahead and option all the checkboxes here, and I'll just go ahead and press reset. This reset will erase all data from your phone's storage. Continue. Yes, I will. All right, so that phone is being configuration file is going to be erased. So at this point, once it comes up, it's not going to have any settings in it that I've put in it or the PBX. But it will go out and it's going to be trying to contact the provisioning server. And once the provisioning server recognizes it, it'll recognize the IP address where it's located, and it will tell the phone to go out and get the configuration file from the ECQX. Okay, so this is basically out of the box. You power the phone up. As long as you got these MAC addresses listed, you can point those over to the PBX. Now, all your settings on the PBX, they're going to remain the same. In your interfaces, I don't need to change anything from the previous method. Okay, I just leave my settings here, Fanville X4, and it should recognize those. Okay, it should recognize the MAC address just like it did in the last scenario. All right, that phone is going to, it's already done a factory reset. It's done the first reboot, and it's doing a second reboot. I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll let you know when that's finished. All right, the next method is going to be using OpenVPN. Okay, we're going to try to demonstrate that. All right, so first of all, you're not going to get too far with this OpenVPN configuration without looking at the document on our support portal. Just search for OpenVPN, search for IP phones. Either way, you're going to you'll find the document for configuring the phones using OpenVPN. All right, so some of the recommendations. Each client you should get a its own OpenVPN. So you reset the phone to factory default, and you start the with the OpenVPN configuration file for each phone separately. All right, don't try to generate one OpenVPN file and use it for all your phones. That's a recommendation. Suggested that you have a static IP on the phone. That's a recommendation. So there's definitely some suggestions here that would be that you'd benefit from. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do, we'll just look at the notes here, is you're going to configure within the QX, go to the OpenVPN settings, go to the server certificate authority, and you're going to enter the settings there. It's recommended that you SHA-1. Okay, and then you're going to go to the PBX server configuration, and then from there you're going to start configuring the individual phones. And so let's proceed. All right, so we're back in the PBX, and the phone is still rebooting for a second time, I guess it is. And second, maybe the third time, because now it's got the configuration file, and that phone is up and working once again. All right, if we look at the line settings, we can see that we've got an account, and it is working. *74.
Phone is connected to IP line number 51. Extension is 1051.
All right, so success, that worked. Excellent. All right, so the next one we're going to be using the OpenVPN for is going to be our Yealink phone. Okay, so we're going to go to the network. I'm back on the PBX, ECQX, looking at the OpenVPN settings. We're going to use the server server certificate authority and key. So it has your country name, your state, city. You can put all these options in there. SHA-1 and validation period 3,650 days. Server configuration. This is the server being the QX, the ECQX in this case. It's going to be listening on port 1194. It's going to use UDP. Within the VPN, it's going to the network's going to be 10.26.0.0/24, which means the QX, since it's the server, is going to be 10.26.0.1. Okay, so the QX IP within the OpenVPN is .1. And then here's a range. If it's going to hand out IPs, it can do that. And next, we'll look at the configuring the remote clients. So this is going to be the individual phones. And I'd already created this one. I thought I deleted it, but I did. Actually, it's at the bottom. I called it, gave it a name, called it so I can recognize it, Andy Yealink T46S. Let's do an edit on the settings. All right, so the name, that's what we're going to reference it within the QX. Andy Yealink T46S. The server address. This is what the phone is going to be using to contact the PBX for getting the OpenVPN to connect with the across the OpenVPN. So it's epygcloud.com. Our server port 1194, protocol UDP, and then I'm going to give the phone a static IP of 10.26.0.144. Okay, so that's the IP within the OpenVPN that the phone's going to have. Okay, so you can see that. So it has a static IP 10.26. It's the last one here at the bottom, and I can get a download here. I can download the file. It says download. Put a check beside it, and at the top says download for the IP phones, and then I choose the model. And this is the Fanville X4. So I can download that, and you can see the that's been generated. I can use that file, or we're going to use. Let me go ahead and close that. Or I'll show you in a minute where you can get the same file from the IP line settings. Okay, so at this point, we need to continue configuring the phone. We're going to go to the IP line settings, and we also need to configure some settings within the phone itself. Now, I will follow along with my document, and it tells me the next step is going to go to the IP line settings. So interfaces, IP line settings, we're going to use IP line 1052. And this is a phone model. This is Yealink T46S. Down towards the bottom. The MAC address, okay, which I do have here. Um, so I thought maybe I don't have the MAC address. Let me go get it out of the phone. All right, there's the MAC address right on the phone itself, the front page. Just copy that, and I could put it directly into the settings here. The local extension 1052, it has a good strong password in there. And then I need to check the box here for use OpenVPN settings and save my settings. Okay, so at this point, I can also I can download that file right here. Okay, so I need to choose. First of all, I need to specify which phone it is. Just scroll down, and you'll see that this is the Andy E-Link T46S. Okay, every time you download it, you will need to um, change that to yours, and download it here locally, and you can see it's a tar.tar file. It's a compressed file. Okay, so now we're going to log into the phone, and we need to upload that file to the phone itself. All right, we're going to go to the T46S. And one of the things that you're going to want to make sure is that the phone does have a DNS server, and actually it does. Since it's located on my private network, it does have access to the DNS server. So they mention that in the document. If it doesn't, make sure that's set. You can use Google's 8.8.8, 4.8.8.8.8. Okay, the same with the time zone. You want to check the time server and make sure that's set. Now we can go to the network and advanced, and down towards the bottom there's an option for um, VPN. So we're going to upload that file that we just downloaded. So we're going to browse to the file. It's in my downloads folder. There it is right at the top. Andy E-Link T46S, E-Link SIP T46S. All right. And upload it, and you can see it's already uploaded. It's a fairly small file. Okay, and now I need to activate the VPN itself and confirm the settings. Some settings, it says it won't take effect until after you reboot. Do you want to reboot now? Okay, and we will say okay. So at this point, the phone sitting beside me is rebooting. All right, and so we'll just give that a moment here to reboot, and we'll look at a couple other things as it comes along. Okay, what we're hoping to see is after the phone reboots, it's going to be come up, and if you go back to the OpenVPN settings, and if you look at server status, we're hoping to see that show up in this list as one of the valid phones on the OpenVPN network. All right, so we'll give that phone a minute or two. So going back to the phone provisioning server, let's look at the group. So I'm back to the Fanville. Okay, I'm bouncing around a little bit just to kill some time, obviously, while the phone is rebooting. But you've got the Fanville, the X4. Once it reaches out to the provisioning server, it recognizes the IP address of where the phone is coming from, and so you have that, and then it got the QX settings, where to find the QX, it got that in the group settings. All right, and if we log back into that Fanville phone, you'll notice that we will have updated the auto provision settings with our recommended settings that came from the oops, wanted me to log back in again. Timed out, I guess. Admin. So now if we go down to the static provisioning server, it's the PBX that populated this field this time, as opposed to us manually doing it. All right, so you kind of get a feel for how the whole process works. Okay, the phone is finished. It's done rebooting, and as you can see, it is now in the VPN. Okay, we recognize it. Here's the IP address, 10.26.0.144. However, at this point, all it's done is it put itself into the VPN, and so the next step would be for the phone to request the configuration file. Okay, and so let's see if we can log back into this phone. Appreciate you bearing with me here and your patience. We're going a little bit over today on the time. So we got the we're going to go to settings over here on the right, and then we're going to go to auto provision, and we need to enter the PBX URL. Okay, so at this point, you might think that we're going to enter the Epygi. You might think, okay, you put in the Epygi production QX Epygi cloud, but no, the URL is actually going to be the QX IP 10.26.0.1. That's the IP that it has in that VLAN. All right, so we need to save the settings, and nothing's going to happen until we do the reboot. Okay, so this is, I think it's on our upgrade. Here's the reboot option right here in the middle. Reboot. Do you want to reboot the phone? Yes, we do. All right, so so that phone is rebooting, and with any luck, it should come up. It should get the configuration file, and it should get registered on the PBX. So we'll watch that happen here. So it's in the VPN. At this point, all it's got to do now is just request the configuration file from the PBX. Okay. As these phones, the benefit for configuring, once they're configured, now you get the added benefit of if it's configured, especially either way, whether it's using the provisioning server or whether it's done using the OpenVPN, you have the benefit of being able to program the keys. Okay, so you can go to the programmable keys, and then you can change some of these keys. For example, if I could put these X4s, they reserve keys 1, 2, and 3 for message waiting indicator, since they don't have an actual message waiting indicator light on the phone. They have a headset and then your IP line. And then from there on down, you can configure individual keys. So, so you could do a watch extension. You can update that. All right, let's see how's that doing. All right, let me see if we can choose one of these. So, for example, if I want to do a watch extension of 52, this is going to be my other phone that I have located here. So I save that, and do you want to reboot the phone? And so at this point, the phone will be rebooting. All right. Good news is the E-Link is its provision. It has now come up. All right, that didn't take too long. So turn up the volume here, *74.
This phone is connected to IP line number 52. Extension is 1052. Username is 10.
All right, so that's come up for us. All right, let me see if I can call it 1052 from my other phone. And okay, the call came through. Now keep in mind, these phones are on a private network. Okay, so it had to negotiate the NAT, and it came up and it's working for us. All right, let's see if we can log into the phone here real quick, the E-Link, just to make sure that all the settings, see how they look. All right, so there it is, account 1, local extension 1052. It is registered. If we look at the account settings, you can see that it's also registered. All right, so that's good. So let's just look at lastly, just look at the status, and we can see that the phones are now they're all configured and registered. You notice the IP address of this one, 10.26.0.44. Okay, the 1051, it's not currently registered. It's going through the reboot process as we configured that last key, so it'll be rebooting for us. All right, well, that concludes the session. Let me just bring up my contact information here, and that concludes the session. I appreciate everyone's time. I thank you for joining. I'm going to open up here in a moment to see if there's any questions. But I appreciate everyone coming, joining, and look forward to seeing you on some of the sessions coming up.